years of persistence, tears and a lot of government lobbying, Sydney finally has a standalone dragway. Hello and welcome to one of the finest motorsport venues in the world, Western Sydney International Dragway. It's the grand opening of their $30 million complex.
And it's been over 6 long years since Sydney has had championship drag racing, and they have turned out in force. 25,000 people have crammed in here to see all the Group 1 categories headed by those awesome 7,000 horsepower top fuel dragsters. And of course, there's plenty of the country's best racers and one from America. Mike Dunn, keen to win this inaugural event.
So if you love your motorsport, folks, at over 500k an hour, boy oh boy, have you come to the right place. It's the grand opening of Western Sydney's International Dragway, and as the motto says, come along for the fastest ride of your life.
Just one look at this complex is enough to convince anyone that no matter how long the struggle and how hard it's been, it's all worth it. And although this colossus of steel and concrete is due to the efforts of many, there are a few for which we can all be very grateful.
The project's taken about 6.5 years to actually get off the ground. Myself, Jim Reed and David Cook has been probably the 3 people at the centre of it.
We watched this thing grow from when they first started scraping, when it was lines on a bit of paper, and then they started scraping around in the dirt.
Well, these people spoke to me and I was mindful of what they said, that there was no facility in Western Sydney, no drag racing facility in this area or in New South Wales, where they've got in Greater Metropolitan Sydney, golf courses, tennis courts, 125 swimming pools and nothing for drag racing.
They were patient because we had to get it right. We had to resolve the probity issues, the land use issues, the financial issues, but they put a strong case. We're here today. Jim tells me it's the best facility in Australia, perhaps in the world, and I think it's going to be a great boon.
We had probably 26,000 people on Friday and yesterday, and today they started pouring in here at 8 o'clock, so it was drag racing alive and well in Sydney or what.
In the 6 years of drag racing competition at Eastern Creek Raceway, no one was able to break 300 miles per hour. However, in the second day of qualifying of the Summer Nationals, Mike Dunn and the Santos Cranes dragster became the first to achieve the magic mark in New South Wales. Dunn's 4.90 at 301 miles per hour put him into the #1 qualifying position. Later that evening, he would set another new record, becoming the first car to run into the 480s, stopping the clock with a 4.82 at 307 miles per hour. Not to be outdone, Johnny Cowan in the Rocket K&N Top Fuel Dragster returned an even quicker and faster pass, stealing the #1 qualifying position with a 4.81 at 309 miles per hour, or just under 500 kilometres an hour. So at the end of one of the greatest nights of top fuel qualifying, Johnny Cowan sits in the #1 spot, ahead of Mike Dunn, with Bob Shepherd taking up the final place with a 5.36.
Well, the drag racing dream has become a reality, and isn't Sydney celebrating? Not without the help of some political lobbying, Sydney radio man Alan Jones and Premier Bob Carr.
This represents the finest drag racing facility in the world.
Here it is. It's your facility. Go for it. Thank you.
Huge support here for the Carr government's wonderful initiative in getting this venue off the ground. And time to cut the ribbon. Former Minister of Sport, current Minister of Sport as well, Bob Carr, Western Sydney is open. Well, we're on the start line right now, and Alan Jones is right down there in the thick of it, the Sydney radio man who played such a big part in all this. Huge burnout for the Gulf Western Oil top fuel car. And it is an amazing experience to be standing on that start line. Jim Reed, how pumped up would this man be here this weekend as we go on board the Auto 1 dragster? Nath, what a day for drag racing.
Exceptionally hot conditions though, Wade, not ideal. Alan Jones said just putting in the earplugs, but how important is it for Jim Reed to win this event?
I've got to be honest with you, it was more important to make the event happen and see the people out there happy, and I got to run up and down, and that was satisfying enough. And you know, maybe it's someone else's turn now to win a lot of events.
Rookie racer Luke Shepherd now comes up alongside Jim Reed, the Gulf Western Oils dragster, coming into line.
You can see Bruce Reed there on the onboard shot, very keen to get this race underway. You don't want to burn these things down on the start line. Both cars into stage, they come out hard. Shepherd's got the edge. Reed starts to smoke the tyres, and he is not going to make it through to the next round.
Look at the flames coming out of the back of the Auto One dragster here. Reed's got a problem.
Jim Reed with a lot of fire out the back that puts oil on the brake rotors. The parachutes look like they may have been burnt, and he is going to hit the catch net and hit it hard. Jim Reed in the Auto One dragster stops hard in the gravel pit.
Not the way he wanted to start the day here. The man who put this whole venue together. What a dramatic way to end his run.
And taken out by the rookie. On the replay here, look, the car starts to smoke the tyres. Jim probably should have two-stepped it. He would have run him down. Now, when they spin the tyres, they start to drop cylinders, and it may have torched a cylinder head, pushed the head gasket out, and that's what all that flame and fire is. Now, what that has done is obviously put a lot of flame on the chute packs, and possibly the chutes may have even been burnt before Jim had a chance to pull them, and therefore it's hit the catch net very hard indeed. The grand opening under very, very hot conditions indeed as Terry Sainty in the new livery Gulf Western Oils Top Fuel dragster burns out, and in beside him, Tommy Steve Reed back in the driver's seat in the second of the Santos Cranes Top Fuel dragsters. Now Terry Sainty up against Luke Shepherd, Saturday night qualifying, a sensational run, 5:22 to put this car into the number 5 qualifying position. A great pass.
Well over 40 degrees in the stands, Nathan. I can't even imagine what it's like on the circuit.
The problem with that, Wade, is that the racetrack struggles to hold the traction. It is a brand new racetrack, it is green, but the temperature does not help at all. It doesn't matter how good the track is in these conditions. It's very slick. Reed comes out, looks like Sainty's got the edge, and Sainty will charge through for the win.
Haven't Gulf Western Oils gotten right behind this? 433 kilometres an hour, a 5:11.
And that is the quickest pass ever for the Sainty team, and it threw a blowout through the lights. Have a look at the replay. Just as he got off the throttle, it chucked the blowout out the side of the engine, and a 5:11 is a personal best for that team.
Mike Dunn now for the USA up against Robert Shepherd from Brindley in New South Wales. So Dunn, a lot has been said of him as he comes out in the Santos Cranes dragster. Big burnout.
Mike Dunn, what a revelation. This is a brand new car for the Santo Rapasada team. Bob Shepherd put this car down the track with a 5:36 in qualifying, nice and clean, but just watch it short of the finishing line. Looks like it torches ahead, and a flash of flame. The team were able to repair this car and get it back to the first round of eliminations. However, Mike Dunn is going to be very tough to beat.
Look at this crowd in the house. Western Sydney International Dragway, a reality. This will be a great heads-up battle. Dunn, the favourite, got out beautifully, but smokes the tyres, and in the end was still able to go on with it.
5:02 at 451 kilometres an hour. Not bad, smoking the tyres pretty much 3/4 of the way down the racetrack. We saw Jim Reed do it. However, Dunn's tyre smoke was not as harsh. He moves through to the next round of eliminations. Number 1 qualifier, Johnny Cowan, gets the solo pass.
Gotta love the onboard cameras here on the Rocket K&N autometer entry. Johnny Cowan in qualifying.
Johnny Cowan on Saturday night up against Jim Reed. This was the number 1 qualifying position. 4:81 at 309 miles an hour to go 1/100th of a second quicker than Mike Dunn to steal the number 1 position. This is a good test opportunity for them to see if they can hold it to the racetrack. No tyre smoke, a little bit of a haze, and stops the clock through the 5:03, 470 kilometres an hour. So, very tough field of racing here for High Tech Oils Top Fuel Eliminator. Let's take a look at the highlights now from Pro Stock Motorcycles first round, and Sam Scarey defeated Andrew Badcock with a 779 at 169 mile an hour. Daniel Peaty put away Morris Allen. Allen been very strong lately, but goes down 781, beats a 790. Neville Langley stalled the bike in the semi-final, giving the solo pass to Damien Desmore, who moved through with an 807, while Callum Gadisi beat Jason Lee with a 785 up against a 792.
And so that brings us to the semis right now, and Daniel Peaty, the giant killer, up against Sam Scarey on camera right there. Can Peaty go on with it? He knocked off Allen earlier on. Can he take care of Scarey?
Sam Scarey in the Dutch Master, beautiful looking Suzuki, 1327 cc's. These bikes are very, very quick, run into the 7.5s at over 170 miles per hour. And you can see Trevor Birrell just bending down to activate the data logging system. Into stage, revs are up, and Scarey looks like he's dropped back a little bit.
Petey gets a great run close to the line. Petey will do the job. He takes care of him again. A 771 beats a 778, 274 kilometres an hour. Nice ride for Petey.
Well, Densmore may have had the solo pass in the first round, but now things get a little bit tougher for him. Up against Callum Gadisi, beautiful looking bike, that one. Bringing them both into stage now.
Queenslander up against the Victorian. Huge crowd, a red light already. That is bad news indeed. It's good news for Densmore. Gadisi, however, red lights.
So Densmore moves into the final of Pro Stock Motorcycles.
Round one now of American Auto Parts Top Alcohol Eliminator, and it brings Gary Phillips in the Lucas Dragster up against Mark Grimer in the Oldsmobile Nathan Prendergast. Great day for racing. Massive crowd in the house.
Yes, and a fantastic onboard as we go on board Gary Phillips in the Lucas Oils Products Dragster. The #1 qualifier with a 582 at 242, but in beside Wayne Newby. Big dramas for the Newby Racing Coldies entry after it blew a right rear tyre. Now Newby, for the last couple of race meetings, has been suffering some severe tyre shake, and you can see it there. Struck the tyres, started to smoke them, shook very hard, and then destroyed the right rear tyre, which then put the car out of shape big time, backed it into the wall. Fortunately, Wayne was A-OK, but the car was not able to make it back for eliminations.
Man, you talk about a spectacular way to get the meeting off progress. Newby would have been, like everybody, looking forward to this meeting. This is going to be an interesting matchup right here. Phillips up against Grimer. You would expect Phillips to be the hard man to beat, Nathan.
Yes, former winner of the Nationals. And Grimer's gone for Big Speculator, has left very early indeed. The car is out of shape. Gary Phillips will get the win here. He shuts it off early and rolls to a 7.60. But Grimer, I'm not sure what happened on the start line. He left very early indeed. Look at the replay. Look at the difference between the two cars off the start line. Phillips had seen him leave, just got off the throttle, and Grimer obviously tried something on the start line, left before the lights even flashed, and from there on, Wade, the car was all out of shape anyway.
Yeah, it looked like an ugly ride right the way through, didn't it? And as you can see, Phillips behind him going, mate, I'll just let you get settled out. No point trying to get involved. A very interesting engine starter sponsor coming up right now for the Stephen Reed entry. The funny car up against Dean McLennan. A couple of Queenslanders here, the Oldsmobile funny car of Dean McLennan and Stephen Reed.
Dean McLennan, runner-up at the last round of Top Alcohol in Queensland, where he was beaten, unfortunately, by Dean Oakey. Steve Reed, the #3 qualifier here at the Summer Nationals with a 6.14. Conditions very, very hot. It makes it very hard to get these cars down the racetrack in these over 60-degree centigrade conditions, as we see Reed struggling, smokes the tyres. McLennan will get the win, runs a 6.19 at 367 kilometres per hour, but Steve Reed, Wade, suffering in these conditions.
Yeah, it's interesting how track conditions are catching a few guys off guard already. Just did not get out of the hole at all. I didn't think McLennan really did anything that special, Nath. Just kind of ran the thing through.
Well, 6.19 is quicker than what he qualified with. He qualified with a 6.34, so he certainly is finding some improvement. We just saw Steve Reed. This is Debbie Reed, Steve's wife, coming out in the small block Chevrolet powered dragster. In beside a very large burnout from Damien Harris, all the way from Western Australia.
Yes, beautifully turned out Ventura Homes Pontiac Fibre. It looks mean up against Debbie Reed.
Debbie Reed with the small block Chevrolet. Harris with your more typical hemispherical engine. He's out of shape. Debbie Reed, I think it's got the edge here. Here comes Harris with a top end charge. Who got the win?
Well, Reed hangs on for the win at 6.49, beats a 6.31. The difference is in the reaction times. It was anything but a pretty run for the West Aussie.
Yes, but a big top-end charge from Harris, 360 kilometres an hour, a lot faster. He was quicker, but you saw he had a very slow reaction time, got out of shape, got back on the throttle, and here's the big top-end charge. Very, very tight on the finishing line, but Reed gets there.
Robert Ambrosi now in the Pontiac funny car out of Diggers Rest in Victoria, up against Dean Oakey in the American Auto Parts Dragster. The American Auto Parts team very much a family operation with Dean Oakey. In a perfect world, you'd expect that Oakey will do the job here, but the last couple runs have shown we are far from a perfect world.
Oh, massive wheel spin for Dean Oakey off the start line, forced a two-stepper. Ambrosi gets out near the wall, and Dean Oakey will luckily get the win here. 6.29 at 356 kilometres per hour. But Ambrosi had this one on the back. Look at the replay. Look at the masses of wheel spin, forced to get on and off the throttle, and Ambrosi over against the wall, but Oakey comes back.
Not very often you get a second bite of the cherry like that. Ambrosi, I think, opened the door up a bit. Well, of the crowd here at Western Sydney International Dragway, certainly getting their value for money in a burnout sense. This is right in front of the main grandstand, and aren't they loving it? A great vibe around the place as we get now into Pennzoil, top door slammer, round one of eliminations. Benny the Kid comes out of the awesome Castrol Chevy.
He may not be in the utility yet, this time still in the 57 Chevrolet, up against number one qualifier Gary Phillips in the Lucas Oil Products Studebaker. Yes, Gary Phillips is the same man you saw in the dragster running in top alcohol. Competes in 2 categories. Now Gary was outside of the field, was yet to qualify into the top 8 and put the car into number one qualifying position with a 6.23 at only 217 miles per hour. It's going to be a tough ask for him though to get around the Castrol 57. Rev starting to build up around the 5,000 RPM mark. Away they go. Brent Bray has a car length on Phillips already. Here comes the Studebaker, but he's not going to get there. Ben Bray gets the win. 6.44 at 355 kilometres an hour, and he got the whole shot as well. Have a look at the reaction times there, 0.125 and 0.074. Ben Bray with the whole shot on Phillips and the quick at ET. There was no way Phillips was going to catch him from there.
Yeah, chivalry is alive and well in drag racing. That's a good sign and a very nice gesture for Grant O'Rourke. Lucky, you could say, for Steve Stanek as well.
Yes, and there is the engine hanging out of the bonnet of this beautiful 67 Camaro. The car is owned by Lucky Billeri. It's driven by Steve Stanek, and now the power plant is by Grant and Debbie O'Rourke from Western Australia. So there's a lot of people willing this car down the racetrack, but they've done very, very well with this car. Won on their debut race, meaning as they complete their burnout here at Western Sydney International Dragway.
Yeah, up against Morris Fabietti from Walking Hills in New South Wales, up against the Monaro. This will be a very good battle. That is a fat-looking car. The K&N Airfielders entry of Fabietti. That looks mean.
Well, problems for Steve Stanek in qualifying up against Robin Judd. Both of the cars getting very out of shape. Robin Judd, unfortunately, failing to qualify into the field. And you have a look on the replay here. They both get very close indeed, and Stanek forced to get off the throttle. Fortunately, he did qualify into the field on Friday night, so that was good enough to see him here on race day.
Spare a thought for the O'Rourke family at the moment as they have the power plant bolted in. Fabietti coming now up into stage. This will be an interesting battle.
Yes, Morris Fabietti hoping to get through to the semi-finals. He's had difficulty getting into the field. The car is loose. He heads for the wall. Buttons off, and Steve Stanek moves into the semi-final of Pennzoil top door slammer. 6.47, 350 kilometres per hour for the win. I've mentioned how hot it is here, Wade. Top door slammers are heavy cars with big horsepower, and when the track gets a little slick in these 60-degree temperatures, they have a lot of trouble getting down the racetrack. 6.46 is fairly soft in door slammer terms.
Here is the king of door slammer action. He's the undisputed king, I think, in a lot of fans' minds. Look at the burnout from Victor Bray. Hello, the king is in the house.
Well, that's what he originally made himself famous for, big, smoky burnouts. And when you step up into these professional categories, you really can't do the big, smoky burnouts. The bigger the burnout, the hotter the tyre gets and the slipperier it can get. So the ideal is about 3 to 4 seconds. Any longer, that's too hot.
Is Peter Kapiris' leg now healed? That's the big question. He raced with a broken leg at Willowbank recently, didn't he?
Peter Kapiris' leg is better now, and Kapiris also, one of the front runners of top door slammer, was vying for the championship up against Ben Bray last season. Kapiris has got the edge on Bray. I think Kapiris may be putting Victor Bray on the trailer in the first round. He is. Peter Kapiris gets the win. 6.44 at 359 kilometres per hour.
Man, the Batmobile chases Bray out of the house. That's a big one for Kapiris. Got a great start off the line. It hasn't been the best couple of shows for Victor Bray.
No, I think he went out in the first round at the Nationals as well. So Victor Bray struggling to get some points on the board. Kapiris with about a car length on the finishing line. Victor with a bit of a top-end charge, but not enough. He who gets there first wins.
Brett Stevens now, Queenslander in the Studebaker up against Alan Sarkis from Hornsby in New South Wales. So 57 Chev up against the Studi, and Brett Stevens, as always, a busy man at these events, running the bike and, of course, the Jack Daniels Studebaker.
Alan Sarkis qualified at number 7 with a 6.53, importantly ahead of Ben Bray, who was lucky to get into the field last. Brett Stevens was number 2 qualifier with a 6.25 at 228 miles per hour. So we're talking a quarter of a second difference in the qualifying times. Doesn't sound like much, but in drag racing terms, that is a hell of a lot.
Big job ahead of the Sarkis Brothers racing team here to knock off Brett Stevens. It'll have to be out of the trap so quick and keep the run going.
Stevens gets the jump. Sarkis is loose and saw it head for the centre line. He's all out of shape, and what a drive job from Alan Sarkis. That car was pretty much 90 degrees to the wall, and he managed to pull it back. 6.40, 359 kilometres per hour for Brett Stevens. He gets the win. He also got the whole shot, but a great drive job from Alan Sarkis. Let's go down to the pits.
Al, what happened? Mate, what can I say? Tough competitor, tough track. Trying to go for it first round, trying to get in for the next one. Didn't work out. What can you do?
Holly Performance Pro Stock Eliminator round 1 now, and it brings up Jason Grimer in the Ford Probe and Dennis Whiting in the Pontiac Grand Prix. Jason Grimer has come a long way, the man from St Mary's. I remember when he had a pink Jag. Grimer's going to have his hands full here up against Whiting, though he gets off to a great start, Grimer.
This is what Pro Stock is all about, side by side, door to door. I think Grimer might have it. Whiting just. Dennis Whiting with the win.
Yeah, runs it through at a 761, beats a 764, 287.2 kilometres an hour. A very good run for Whiting. Just gets it in the end.
Yes, not a lot at all between these two cars on the finishing line. It looked like the Ford may have had just the edge, but in the last 100 feet of the racetrack, Dennis Whiting just got there.
Well, Joe Polito's beautiful Ford Probe now coming up against Mike Tinney's Holden HSV GTS. Presentation of these vehicles, immaculate. The Holly Performance Pro Stock Eliminator round 1.
Arguably the most competitive category in Australian Championship drag racing. Pro Stock Eliminator. These cars run 400 cubic inch, which is a small block engine, carburetted or naturally aspirated on VP racing fuel, and they make over 1,000 horsepower. They are very hard to drive. Big RPM. Polito goes too soon and red lights by 1/100th of a second.
Well, that's all it takes. Tinney in the end will get an easy win. There's more Pro Stock action coming up after the break. It's really going to start to heat up at Western Sydney International Dragway. Welcome back. It's Holly Performance Pro Stock Eliminator round 1. It brings up Tony Wedlock and Ian Brown. Wedlock concedes conditions are tough today. It's anyone's race.
Oh, look, you know, the conditions here are a bit trying for everybody. You know, the temperature's way up and the track temperature's just out of control, you know, so everybody's slip sliding away out there. The problem with it being so new is that there's been not a lot of rubber put down, you know, and you know, just about every bracket out here is suffering a little bit from traction. Nothing to do with the track, you know, it's just part of the game when you've got a brand new facility.
Wedlock looking to put Brown in a headlock. Nathan?
Ian Brown, former Superstock champion, up against the undefeated competitor in Pro Stock since June of 2003, and it's going to stay that way at least for this round. Tony Wedlock with a comfortable victory.
Yeah, it's done a very nice job. Runs it through at a 759 at 288.1 kilometres an hour. Beats a 795, and Brown goes out the back door.
Peter Ridgway fires the 400 cubic inch engine to life in the front of the Oldsmobile Cutlass as he gets ready to do battle against Andrew Stavroulakis. Now, Pro Stock Eliminator has a maximum capacity of 400 cubic inches. It's a relatively new rule, a couple of years old, and Andrew unfortunately still has one of the older engines at around 360 cubic inches, so he's giving a fair bit away in horsepower.
Yes, look at this man here, Peter Ridgway, known for his immaculate presentation and very tough in qualifying, though.
Yes, gave nothing away at all in qualifying. 7.42 at 184 miles per hour to be #1 qualifier by 6/100ths of a second ahead of Tony Wedlock. Can he move through to the next round of eliminations? You can see his longtime crew chief out in front of the car, Victor Bono, who has been friends with Ridgway since primary school.
Well, Stavroulakis got a great launch, but it's all Ridgway. Have a look at the speed flow entry. Runs it through a very impressive 757, beats an 844. The reaction time was much better of Stavroulakis, but Ridgway just sailed home.
Peter Ridgway on the onboard now. Look how precise he has to be with the gear shifts. Into top gear by half track, reaches up for the parachute, and Peter Ridgway gets the win. He'll be very pleased with getting past the first round of eliminations.
Yeah, look, it was pretty good considering the conditions. It's just about hobbling anything I've ever raced in, and it's always nice to get past the first round. There's a couple more to go, and hopefully we'll be around talking still.
295 k's.
Time for some two-wheel action now. The Wild West Custom Cycles Top Bike Eliminators round 1. A couple of West Aussies on the line. Jay Upton on the awesome Sprintex Triumph, and Kim Stevens on the Top Fuel Harley.
Jay Upton put this bike into #1 qualifying position with an awesome 6:45 in qualifying. The quickest pass he has ever run on this motorcycle and the quickest pass in the history of Australian top fuel motorcycle racing. Let's see if he can get past Davis. The new third Jack Daniels Racing motorcycle. It's not going to happen for Stevens this time, though.
It's appropriate that it sings a triumph, because that seems to be what Upton spends his time embracing. That thing is a rocket. It should be registered with NASA. Look at that, a 675.
We figured we actually were supposed to run a little earlier and the cloud cover was over, and we'd figured on the track being a little better. And when the sun got up for about half an hour before we got out there, I made a conscious decision. I was talking to Justin and we decided we'd hold the brake at the start line, and I'm glad I did.
Dave Borum now up against Mark Ashelford. So a turbo Suzuki from Queensland up against Ashelford's overkill Attitude Racing Harley from Bayswater in Western Australia. A big burnout.
Yes, a big burnout. That's what top fuel motorcycles absolutely are famous for. The crowd loves to see the big tyre smoking action. These things sound completely different, but they both run in top fuel motorcycle and both have different characteristics. The Harley, big torque, lots of horsepower, but low RPM. It's not going to matter for Ashelford this time. Borum gets the win.
A 779 beats a 970. Mark Ashelford's out. It still leaves Ian. So Ian Ashelford now on the second of the Attitude Racing Harleys in the deep end of the pool as he tackles the boss, the Jack Daniels Racing Harley of Brett Stevens.
Yes, and Brett Stevens has been one of the form runners in top fuel motorcycles. And this is one of the reasons why he gets so much support. Big, smoky burnouts. Would you believe the engine in this motorcycle is 173 cubic inches or 2.8 litres?
And he knows how to get it down the quarter mile. Stevens, the hot favourite, up against Ashelford.
Yes, Ashelford with problems immediately off the start line. Brett Stevens not on the cleanest runs either. However, he's going to get there quite comfortably.
Yeah, the boss brings it home with a 765, easily beating a 1521. He'll be pumped with the win, and I bet he's pumped with the venue. This whole Wizard deal.
It's a great facility. It's only going to get better, and to have a meeting of this size for their first one, it's a credit to them that it's come off so well. But it's going to get better as we keep going.
Final pass now in Wild West Custom Cycles Top Bike Eliminators Round 1, and it brings up Troy McLean from Queensland and Craig Bonwick from Hoxton Park, New South Wales.
And the unfortunate thing of this pairing is that if McLean gets the win here, he actually has to meet his team boss, Brett Stevens, in the semi-finals. Craig Bonwick met Brett Stevens at the Nationals and unfortunately didn't beat him, and he's not going to beat McLean this time.
No, McLean, great run, straight off the line, very smooth, and will run it through at an 8:35, easily eclipsing a 10:87. So McLean goes through to the semis and will meet the boss. Semi-finals now, the Pennzoil top door slammers, and it brings up Brett Stevens in the Jack Daniels Studi, and this Bitzer today, Steve Stanek in the Lucky Valeri Chev Camaro.
Yes, a beautiful car, and these two actually met in the final of the Nationals with Steve Stanek getting the upper hand on Brett Stevens, and there's a lot riding on this 67 Camaro at the moment. As Wade was saying, it has the engine out of Grant Debbie O'Rourke's top door slammer. It is obviously owned by Lucky Valeri and driven by Steve Stanek. Brett Stevens, on the other hand, is more of a super team, the Jack Daniels team, about to launch their second top door slammer in Sydney in a couple of months' time. They have 3 top fuel motorcycles, and Brett has already made it to the semi of top bike. Can he go through to the final of top door slammer?
He's hoping they'll say at the end of the day that Jack lives here, Nath, because he'd like to win the first ever top door slammer event at the Wizard.
Yes, they call it the Wizard. I don't know about the name, but there's something certainly magical about this place. Stevens has got the edge. Stanek for the centre line. He's forced to button it off, and Brett Stevens goes to the final with a 6:22, 3:67. That was going to be tough to beat anyway.
Fastest time of the day by a long way, Nath. Let's have a look at it here. You see that the car starts to wander. Stanek trying to gather it back up. Stevens is gone.
Yeah, a lot of shake there as well for Stanek, and you saw Stevens just starting to creep into shot. Have a look on the replay here. Watch the orange Camaro nearest to screen. It gets to about half track and takes a big wander near the centre line. Brett Stevens charges through into the final.
Yeah, mate, we've stepped up a bit. You know, it's cooled off now. The track's cooled down, so we're throwing a bit more in it. We're going to put a little bit more in it for the final. I don't know who's going to win here. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Second semi in front of a packed house here at Western Sydney International Dragway for Pennzoil top door slammers. Here is the kid, Benny the Kid, And a fairly sedate burnout by Bray standards, but it's a long one. He comes up against the Batmobile, Peter Kapiris in the immaculate Studebaker.
Well, Kapiris has already put away one Bray. He defeated Victor in the first round. Can he now get rid of the kid? Benny Bray is the reigning Australian top door slammer champion and actually took the title away from Peter Kapiris at the Winter Nationals in 2003. It could have been Kapiris' title. I'm sure that Peter is looking for a little bit of revenge here.
Great looking car, isn't it? There is the steely eye of a gunfighter. Man, he doesn't look too keyed up. He looks pretty relaxed.
Well, he has grown up with drag racing. Of course, his father, Victor, 6 times Australian top door slammer champion. All that Ben is concerned about is making it into the final, and he looks pretty good. Kapiris is out of shape. No one is going to catch the kid.
6:22 beats a 6:38, 365.5 kilometres an hour. Benny Bray, what a run off the line. That thing just tracked dead straight.
And what a final it's going to be. Both cars making their way through to the final with a 6:22. It's going to be a very, very tough final of Pennzoil Top Door Slammer.
Holly Performance Pro Stock Elimination semi-finals now. Dennis Whiting from Toowoomba up against Noosa Heads' Peter Ridgway. So a couple of Queenslanders. A Pontiac Grand Prix up against an Oldsmobile Cutlass, both running 400 cubic inch Chevys.
Peter Ridgway, the most successful competitor in Pro Stock Eliminator, has actually won over 30 national events in this class and has won over 60 national events in his career, spanning across Super Stock and into Pro Stock Eliminator. He was the first man to run a 7-second pass in Pro Stock, whilst Whiting had a little bit of a hiatus from the sport and has returned to drag racing with a lot of success.
Whiting dispatched Grimer in eliminations with a 761. Has he got enough for Ridgway?
Ridgway bumps it into stage on the rev limit, a 7,200 RPM. They come out up to 9,000. Whiting has the jump on Ridgway. You can see him out of the window. Ridgway starting to chase him down. Does he get there?
No, Whiting, a giant killing effort. A 753 beats a 747, 291 kilometres an hour, but Ridgway can't get there.
This is a perfect example of why reaction times are so important in drag racing. Ridgway went quicker, he ran faster, but he was 6/100ths of a second slower on the start line than Whiting. Therefore, the Pontiac Grand Prix got the win and moves into the final of Pro Stock Eliminator.
Yeah, it'll be good when this class gets competitive, Nathan, won't it? Mike Tinney, a big burnout here, has got a big job ahead of him to take care of the man who's just about unstoppable at the moment, Tony Wedlock.
5 times he has been bridesmaid in the Australian Pro Stock Championship. He has never won it. And he doesn't like to count his chickens. However, he is in top form. He won the Nationals, he won the Winter Nationals, and if he can win this event, he will get the hat-trick.
These vehicles can be worth up to $350,000, so the equivalent to a house in the surrounding suburbs of the Western Sydney International Dragway.
Yes, the engines alone over $100,000. Would you believe there's over 600 hours of work in the cylinder heads alone? Wedlock has got this one comfortably. Problems for Tinney, and Tony Wedlock into another final.
So it's a Wedlock-Whiting final. That'll be a beauty.
751 at 292 kilometres an hour for Wedlock for the win, so he probably will need to find something a little better than that if he wants to beat Whiting in the final. Problems for Tinney, Wedlock, another win.
Oh, look, it's a great venue, and we're just so happy to be here at the first meeting at Western Sydney and being in the final.
American Auto Parts now bring us the semi-final top alcohol action. It brings up Debbie Reed against the Lucas dragster, Gary Phillips. So I wonder whether Debbie, she gives away a little bit in capacity, but I wonder whether she can take care of Phillips here today at Western Sydney.
You can see the massive tachometer in the middle of the dashboard there for Gary Phillips on the Lucas Oils Products dragster. Debbie Reed and Gary Phillips actually met in the semi-finals at the Nationals, in which Gary Phillips put Debbie on the trailer. As I said back then, these cars running different types of engines. However, the small block of Debbie Phillips, that dragster, on screen now should be somewhat lighter than the Lucas Oils Products dragster.
Phillips always a busy boy at these meetings, running both top door slammer and top alcohol.
Yes, unfortunately, the door slammer is on the trailer. He went out in the first round. Can he make it to the final for top alcohol eliminator? Reed is with him, but not for long. Gary Phillips into the final.
Gee, that's a big run there. 580 beats a 737, 383.6 kilometres an hour.
Yes, 239 miles per hour. Let's have a look at the onboard shot now. The massive light on the dash tells Gary when he needs to shift gears up around the 10,000 mark, and he gets the win.
The air's cooling off and the sun's gone down, and we're really looking forward towards the final, whoever it might be. I mean, it'll be an exciting final, it really will.
Second semi-final now, preparing for competition. It brings up Dean McLennan and Dean Oakey there in the American Autos dragster.
Putting his theory into practice now, Dean Oakey, who won the last championship race at Willowbank Raceway, up against this man, Dean McLennan. Can he do it again? I don't think so. The shoot's out for Oakey, and McLennan's going to get the win.
A 6.09 beats a 6.75, 374 kilometres an hour, and McLennan sends Oakey home packing.
Oakey got the whole shot on the start line, but it's McLennan into his second final in a row. Bad luck for Oakey. He was forced to two-step it on the start line, but as he got to just past half track, the chute shook free. That obviously is designed to stop the car, and he doesn't go through.
It's 2 meetings in a row now. We're starting to get on top of this tune-up. We just put the PSI on last meeting, so different track, different setup. So, but the track's starting to get there. It's cooling off now, so it'll be better. Wait to the final.
Chris Jackson from Wild West Custom Cycles bringing us semi-final action now for Top Bike and the awesome Sprintex triumph of Jay Upton from South Perth in Western Australia up against the Queenslander Dave Borum on the Turbo Suzuki.
Oh, problems for Borum. He steps off the bike and looking very disgusted indeed. They're going to push this back, and that will give Jay Upton the solo pass into the final of Wild West Custom Cycles Top Bike Eliminator. Look at the way he has to lean off this machine. He ran 6.45. He has been 214 miles per hour, and he's off the bike through the lights. A sensational run.
The guy is absolutely the most skillful or mental guy in the world. 671, 287.7 kilometres an hour. He is amazing.
And just have a look at how he has to ride this machine. He leans off the bike. He brings his whole body over to steer it. As he goes through the lights, his leg comes off, but he's in the final.
It smoked the tyre a little in the middle of the track, and I got a little loose, and you might have seen I was well off it coming through the top. So anyway, we tidied it up and it's okay.
Wild West Custom Cycles second semi now, and it's the teammates on the Jack Daniels Harleys. Brett Stevens, the boss, up against Troy McLean with somewhat of a moral dilemma, though Stevens may well take care of that problem for him. Look at the burnout.
Well, Brett Stevens met Jay Upton in the final at the Nationals and got the win. He has to get past his teammate. As you said, McLean, what's he going to do? Not as big a burnout from McLean, but this bike has the potential to beat Jack Daniels. Well, basically, they're the same machines.
Stevens definitely comes in as the hot favourite for this to go into the final up against Upton. He gets off to a good run, but I tell you what, taking it to him early was McLean. In the end, Brett Stevens runs it through at a 6.96, 319 kilometres an hour, beats a 7.69, 255 Ks.
Yeah, it was a good race, but we were side by side. I think he dropped the cylinder there at the end, and that's racing, but go jump in the car now. I'm a little bit out of breath too.
Good luck, mate. Let you go.
Thank you.
It's High Tech World's Top Fuel Eliminator semi-final time. Terry Sainty in the Gulf Western Oils dragster. Big burnout. He's up against the young gun, Johnny Cowan, in the Rocket dragster. Expect a big burnout right here, which he does. Just because it's domestic doesn't mean it's backyard, although it is coming up against a heavy hitter right now. As we take a look at Johnny Cowan, 24 years of age, a twin, lowest ET with a 478. Achievements already, 2 Top Fuel wins, including the Nationals. And he's the current Top Fuel points leader.
Yes, he's already won 2 events in a row. He's going for his hat trick. However, the Sadie team have run their personal best, a 5.11. Improved reliability means that they can start to step this thing up, and they may have the combo to get round Cowan. Wheels in the air for the rocket machine. It's not going to happen this time. Johnny Cowan throws the belt off and stops the clocks with a 4.99, 384 kilometres an hour for the win.
How cool was that? Both cars leaving the line with the front wheels way in the air. Here's a look at the onboard, the Rocket onboard. How good will this be?
Watch for the safety car disappearing in the distance. This thing was on a real number until it started to smoke the tyres. Have a look at the wheels in the air for the Rocket car. Then it got to half track, started to light the tyres. And just have a look at the rear of the car. You'll see a little belt come off. When it spins the tyres, they do have a tendency to throw the belts.
This massive 2-car operation is a clear reward for the organisers of Western Sydney International Dragway. It's a good reflection on the investment required.
And a good reflection on the future of the sport. Western Sydney has kicked things off right around the country. Not much of a burnout for Luke Shepherd there. He may have a problem. These things really need to get some heat in the tyres if they're going to put all that 7,000 horsepower down to the racetrack. Mike Dunn just backing up now, 47 years of age, obviously from the United States. Look at that low ET, 449, top speed, 331 miles an hour, and he has also won Funny Car as well as Top Fuel NHRA race meetings.
And is an announcer for ESPN and drag racing, so he's been behind the wheel and certainly in front of the cameras. We get set for a start. This will be a giant-killing win if Shepard can do it, but as you called it, Nate, a problem for the Gulf Western Oils dragster, and Dunn runs it through at a 481 at 463.1 k's an hour.
That is incredible in these conditions, and they threw the belt off. Have a look at the replay. Have a look at the wheels come off the ground, how this car starts to crab. He's basically driving it down the racetrack sideways. Watch for the blowout. Few messy cylinders towards the end of the racetrack there, but a 481 is incredible in these conditions. They're going to be super tough come the final. Problems for Shepard, but we got plenty more coming up after the break.
Time now for the Pro Stock Bike final. Densmore coming up against Daniel Peaty, who's been the giant killer. A couple of Queenslanders, both aboard Suzuki's. Not much in it in terms of CC capacity.
Both of these guys good mates as well. Both of them four-cycle dyno engine bikes. Both of them looking to be the winners of this inaugural event here at Western Sydney International Dragway. I think Peaty may have the edge. Densmore's hanging on to it. Peaty will get there. Stops the clock with a 7.66, 264 kilometres an hour. A fantastic win. He is pumped with that.
Very good. Yeah, I've got to thank my crew. They've just put a huge effort in this weekend. Owen, Peter, my father Ken and Rido. My sponsors, Rido's Gem Shack from Gladstone, Four-Cycle Dyno Performance. And Sydney International Raceway. Thank you.
And it's the Holly Performance Pro Stock final time. Tony Wedlock up against Dennis Whiting. Both guys from Toowoomba, both Pontiac pilots, and both in hot form, Nathan.
Tony Wedlock shooting for the hat-trick. He won the Nationals. He won the Winter Nationals before that. Can he win the Summer Nationals? The opening of Western Sydney International Dragway. Just stalled the car there after the burnout, reaches up and fires the 400 cubic inch Chevrolet to life in the front of this car.
Wedlock, a very big man, just crams himself inside the cockpit there. Whiting with nothing to lose, Nathan. He's been in good form so far tonight.
Yeah, well, Whiting actually got the victory over Peter Ridgway, who was the #1 qualifier with a whole shot. Now, that was a very, very big burnout from Tony Wedlock. He's hoping to get as much heat in the tyres as he possibly can, because in Pro Stock we get what is called a burn down sometimes on the start line where neither car wants to go into full stage. Wedlock this time is forced to go in first. Whiting will bump it in. One flash, both cars get away clean. I think Whiting has the edge off the start line. Wedlock is with him side by side. Wedlock is going to get the win at the Summer Nationals.
A 7.47 at 292 kilometres an hour beats a 7.55 at 290. What a battle between these two guys.
Wedlock gets his hat-trick and does it in style at the opening of Western Sydney International Dragway. Whiting tried the start line game. It didn't work for him. He actually went slower in the final than what he did in the semi-final. Possibly the tyres went cold, but Tony Wedlock, the winner of the Summer Nationals.
Boys have busted their boiler all weekend. You know, got a fantastic crew. We've got a great car. I'm just absolutely over the moon that we've done this.
Time now for the Wild West Custom Cycles Top Bike Final. This will be a beauty. Once again, it's the White Knight up against the devil himself. Jay Upton looking for revenge against Brett Stevens. That awesome triumph up against this amazing Harley.
And for the second time in a row, Brett Stevens is in the final of both Top Door Slammer and Top Bike. Look at the heat he's putting in that big rear tyre. Now, unfortunately for Jay Upton, he had problems on the start line at the Nationals and did not start the bike. Of course, giving the win then to Brett Stevens. Can he get his revenge?
He'd be desperate for a win. Look at the intensity in Stevens' eyes as he stages the Jack Daniels Harley.
This Harley Davidson makes around 800 horsepower, but it only revs to 4,900 RPM. If you can cross the finishing line at 4,900 RPM, you'll be doing 200 miles per hour. Jay Upton, on the other hand, has got 645 potential in this bike. He has got the win comfortably and runs a 639.
215 miles an hour. That's 344 kilometres an hour. He takes care of Stevens and puts the Jack Daniels Harley on ice.
And Jay Upton resets the national elapsed time record for Top Fuel motorcycle, a 6.392, 215 miles per hour. Stevens a great run, but he just had nothing to match Upton.
Jay Upton, a 6:39.215, a new Aussie record.
Beautiful. And I think we did the other half of the mile-an-hour record last night, so that actually is both halves of the record this weekend and a win. And our first 6:30. How about that for a first event in Sydney?
American Auto Parts top alcohol final now, and Dean McLennan, very much the giant killer so far tonight, in his funny car, comes up against Gary Phillips in the Lucas Dragster.
Yes, Gary Phillips as we go on board now. Watch the tacho go up around 8,000 RPM in the burnout. Fairly short burnout there for Phillips. I don't know whether that signals any intention on what he's going to do on the pass. McLennan, in his second full season of drag racing competition, has stepped the car up this year, has put a new supercharger on it, a new fuel system, and with the tuning assistance of Victor Bray, has put this car to a personal best of 5.98 and has been a runner-up at the last event, the second round of the Top Alcohol Championship. McLennan is quick, but Phillips is quicker.
He took care of Stephen Reed in the eliminations and also Oakey in the semis, so his confidence is high.
Gary Phillips was the winner of the first round of the championship, went out in the semis at the second round. Can he be the winner here in the third round? McLennan running the car, the ex-Alan Dobson car, was actually the first top alcohol car in Australia to run a 5-second pass. Can he run a 5? He's going to need to if he's going to beat Phillips.
McLennan got out of the hole beautifully. Oh, Phillips started to wander. It's all McLennan. The funny car hoses him. A 6.03 beats a 7.24, 374, almost exactly the same time he ran in the semis.
And Dean McLennan out of brakes and is going to take on the gravel pit very slowly indeed. That'll do no damage to the car. Stops it gently. Have a look at the onboard replay here from Gary Phillips. He must have had a problem on the shift into top gear. The car just stopped. The engine stops and you can see the funny car charge off into the distance. McLennan gets the win. He's married to Kelly Bray, Victor Bray's oldest daughter, and this is a sensational performance for the young Queenslander. His first win in Top Alcohol Eliminator.
The car might be sunk into the gravel, but his spirits are sky high.
6:03, oh, that was great. I don't know what happened to Gary, but Gary's a great racer. He's been around for years. He's won a lot of titles. Our guys, I can't say nothing but for Castro, for L&D Automotive, and Team Bray. This is it. Thank you very much.
Pennzoil top door slammer final, and Benny the Kid bags them up, the Castro Chevy. Oh man, you talk about arch rivalry here. Brett Stevens in the Jack Daniels Studebaker. What an event this is going to be.
Well, it was a win already for Team Bray with McLennan getting the win in Top Alcohol. Can Ben do the same? However, at the Nationals, when Brett Stevens won Top Bike, he lost in Top Door Slammer. He just lost in Top Bike. Does that mean there's a possible win in Door Slammer for Stevens?
He would detest the idea of two losses. You can bet on that. As Benny so casual on the line, Stevens seems to be the one that has the intensity. This is going to be a great heads-up battle.
Brett Stevens, the first man in Australia to win both Top Door Slammer and Top Fuel Motorcycle at the same event. He did that at Calder. He did it again at the Motorplex. Can he win Door Slammer, though, here at Western Sydney? Benny bumps it in, the revs are up, waiting for full stage from Ben Bray, waiting for that extra light to appear on the top of the Christmas tree. There it is, one flash of all 6 ambers, and Stevens smokes the tyres. Benny Bray's going all the way.
Bray is gone, a 6.25, smokes a 6.74, 366 kilometres an hour. The Kid smokes him.
Well, Brett Stevens just a little too hard off the start line. The car goes into immediate wheel spin. You can see it smoke the tyres there. And from then on, Ben Bray had clear track in front of him and charged through for the win. Benny Bray, the winner of the Summer Nationals.
So I owe this to my team. They worked so hard this weekend, and I don't know if I could do it without them. Like, I got good guys that back me. I got a good family behind me. I got, I guess, good sponsors as well. My sponsors do everything for me, like Holden and Castrol, super cheap. They got me here, and I guess they're going to keep me here, and hopefully we can come back here and do it again.
This is going to be a ripper. A full house here at Western Sydney International Dragway. Johnny Cowan closest to camera, and Mike Dunn, the Californian, off to the side.
And there is a strong rivalry between these two teams as well, especially between Dunn and the Cowan family. Johnny's brother Andrew actually took the ride off Mike Dunn a number of years ago in America, and both of these guys, although it's a bit of water under the bridge, they would take a lot of comfort in winning this race.
Well, think about the pride, Nate. Think about this full house, the first ever Nationals at Western Sydney International Dragway. Forget all the other stuff. they're going to hate each other just purely based on who's going to win this thing right now.
It's an Australian team, but we've also got an America versus USA thing here, and the 40,000 people packed into this stadium would like to see Johnny Cowan take it for the local crowd. A bit of a burn down top fuel-wise on the start line. Mike Dunn is not going into stage. You can see Andrew Cowan has got it on the high side. There's a lot of fuel pumping out. You do not want to do this in a top fuel car. Both of them in. Dunn smokes the tyres. Cowan's all the way. No, he shuts down. Dunn nearly gets him, but doesn't. 5:38 gets the win, 209 kilometres an hour, beating Mike Dunn's 5:50. A drama-packed final here in High-Tech Oil's Top Fuel Eliminator.
Could you have asked for any more drama? Here's a look at Dunn. He doesn't get off the line at all well there. There's problems right there. You see Cowan getting a good run till about half track and then drums.
Dunn smokes the tyres instantly on the step of the throttle. He two-steps it. That's what Jim Reed should have done in the first round. Then Cowan smokes the tyres, throws the belt off. Mike Dunn with a big top-end charge, but not enough. Johnny Cowan gets 3 in a row. He gets his hat trick and he does it by the skin of his teeth. Congratulations to both teams, but Johnny Cowan, the winner of the Summer Nationals.
Win or lose? Did you win or lose?
Yeah.
An Aussie win, mate. The first one, a history maker. Johnny Cowan, well done. You came through with a win.
Well, that's the third time in a row, and bit of a stage and duel there, and we had some fun. So I'm happy, thank you.
Great to see you down here. I know the fans appreciated seeing someone of your calibre out here. Would you come back?
Oh yeah, I'd come back. If I get the invite and I got the time, I love it down here. This is a great country, great people. They treat us very well, and this team's a good team, so I would do it, yeah.
Well, the brothers embrace. Johnny Cowan there with his brother Andrew. They are absolutely elated, as well they might be. That rounds up our coverage for today.